Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're a Missouri driver, you already know that keeping your car street legal involves its fair share of paperwork and, well, usually a slightly frustrating trip to the mechanic. But today, we are going to completely demystify Missouri's Gateway Vehicle Inspection Program. We're going to break it all down so you never waste a single minute or a single dollar getting this done. Because let's be real, we have all been there, right? You glance at your license plate and suddenly realize your tags are expiring at the end of the month. Or even worse, your dashboard lights up with that dreaded check engine light right when you need to renew your registration. It's that universal dread of dealing with bureaucratic red tape. But here's the good news. Getting your Missouri emissions test scheduled and passed is actually a super streamlined process once you know the rules of the game. I promise you a really straightforward solution to make this whole thing completely stress-free. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our quick roadmap for today. First, we'll figure out if you even need a test. Then we'll cover finding and scheduling a station, preparing for your appointment, how the test actually works, and finally, what happens if you fail.
Starting with Section 1. Do you need a test?
So, before you jump on Google and start searching for mechanics, let's make sure you actually need this. Testing is highly regionalized in Missouri. The whole program is designed to combat ground-level ozone, so it's strictly targeted at the St. Louis metro area. Basically, you are only required to get an emissions test if your vehicle is registered in St. Louis City, St. Louis County, St. Charles County, or Jefferson County. If you live anywhere else in Missouri's other 111 counties, like, say, Kansas City or Springfield, you're completely exempt. And definitely note that recent change for Franklin County. Thanks to some massive progress in reducing ground-level ozone, cars registered in Franklin County were officially exempted from testing as of July 2022. Pretty cool, right? But wait, even if you do live in one of those 4 required counties, your specific vehicle might still get a free pass. Fully electric vehicles literally have 0 tailpipe emissions, so they're completely exempt. Motorcycles? Also exempt. Brand new vehicles, historic vehicles, and older cars manufactured in 1995 or earlier are off the hook too. So absolutely double-check this list of exemptions before you book an appointment. All right, moving to Section 2, finding and scheduling stations. If you've gone through the list and confirmed that you do in fact need a test, you should know Missouri uses a decentralized system. All that means is a state doesn't run those giant DMV-style testing facilities where you have to wait in a massive line for hours. Instead, you schedule directly with private, certified auto shops. To find one, you just visit the official portal at MissouriVIP.com and use their station locator map. You can filter for active stations right in your own neighborhood. Now, because these are private shops, you'll need to call them directly or use their specific website to schedule your time. Oh, and a pro tip here, if you also need a safety inspection, ask the shop if they do both at the same time. And to avoid the rush, try scheduling during off-peak times, like maybe a mid-morning on a Tuesday. Definitely, absolutely avoid the last few days of the month when everyone else is scrambling to renew their tags. Now, if you're worried about hidden costs, don't be. The state of Missouri legally caps the maximum fee any inspection station can charge you for an emissions test at exactly $24. While a shop can technically charge you less, they absolutely cannot charge you more. So you'll know exactly what to expect when you hand over your credit card. No surprises.
Let's jump to Section 3, preparing for your appointment.
Once you have a time locked in with a local mechanic, you really need to show up ready. Walking in unprepared is literally the quickest way to get turned away at the counter. So this is your crucial document matrix for a standard biennial renewal. You're going to need your official Department of Revenue registration renewal notice. That's Form 184. You'll also need your valid driver's license, proof of current car insurance, and your paid personal property tax receipts for the prior 1 or 2 years. Just a quick aside, if you literally just bought the car or you're transferring it from out of state, you will need slightly different paperwork like your title or a bill of sale. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how shockingly easy it is to accidentally sabotage your own emissions test. A huge pro tip here is to never, ever disconnect or replace your battery right before your test. Doing that actually clears out your car's internal computer monitors. If those monitors read as incomplete because they were just reset, the station will automatically turn you away, and you've just wasted a trip. Also, make sure to drive your car for about 15 to 20 minutes before pulling into the shop. You want that engine fully warmed up and running at peak efficiency. Okay, I literally cannot emphasize this quote enough. If your check engine light is on, your vehicle will automatically fail, regardless of the actual emissions output. This is entirely non-negotiable, guys. If that little engine icon is glowing on your dashboard, do not schedule your emissions test yet. Save yourself the headache. You must get the code diagnosed and the underlying issue resolved first. Section 4, the emissions test explained. So what happens once you hand over the keys? Well, the testing method depends entirely on the age of your car. For the vast majority of you driving cars manufactured in 1996 or later, the test is incredibly fast. The tech just plugs a scanner into your vehicle's OBD port, usually right under the steering wheel. It securely reads your car's digital self-monitoring data in just a few minutes, and you're done. But if you happen to be driving a vehicle older than 1996 that somehow doesn't qualify for a historic exemption, the technician will actually use a physical probe inserted into the tailpipe to measure the exhaust fumes directly.
If you pass the test, congratulations! You get a Vehicle Inspection Report certificate. But pay close attention to this detail. That certificate is valid for exactly 60 days for the purpose of renewing your registration. That means you've got to be a little strategic. Don't go take the test 4 months before your tags expire, or the certificate will expire, and you'll just have to pay to do the whole thing all over again.
Finally, Section 5, what if you fail?
Okay, take a deep breath. Failing an emissions test is super stressful, but the program actually has some built-in safety nets. So the crucial point is understanding this exact timeline. If you fail, the technician gives you a report that lists the exact diagnostic codes causing the issue. You take that report, get the vehicle repaired, ideally by a Missouri-recognized repair technician, and then you have exactly 20 business days to return to the exact same testing station. If you go back to the same shop within that 20-day window, you get one free retest. You don't have to pay that $24 fee again.
But you might be wondering, what if you spend a ton of money fixing the car and it still fails? The state provides a backup plan here too. If you spend $450 or more on qualifying emissions-related repairs at a recognized repair facility and your vehicle still fails its retest, you can apply for a cost-based waiver through the Department of Natural Resources. If they approve it, they will let you renew your tags anyway. It's a really good safety net to know about. Now, as your guide through all this, I have to remind you that state regulations can and do evolve over time. Just look at what happened with Franklin County. They had to test for years, and now they don't. Because policies shift based on regional air quality data and state laws, it is always the best practice to verify current rules, exemptions, and fees directly with the Missouri Department of Revenue or the official GVIP website before making your final appointment. And that brings us to the end of this explainer. We've covered the exemptions, finding the right shop, prepping your documents, avoiding common mistakes, and how to handle a failed test. I really hope you feel totally equipped to handle your upcoming registration renewal with total confidence. You know, it's actually fascinating to think about how programs like this are going to evolve as electric vehicles slowly take over the roads. Will emissions testing eventually just become a thing of the past altogether? It's definitely possible. But until then, we have to navigate the system we have. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What was your experience like navigating the Missouri emissions test? And do you have a trusted, favorite local shop in the St. Louis area that you would highly recommend to others? Drop your tips and shout-outs in the comments below so we can all help each other out. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy driving out there.